Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition episode of D List Diaries. It's going to be just me today, Nicole. So, this is my first time doing a solo episode. Please be gentle. It will kind of be like a very long voice note that I send to my besties, so you're in for a treat. And if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that we have been on summer break because we've been traveling, we've been busy, and I don't know if you saw on social media, but just in case you didn't, I am pregnant. So it's been a tough couple of weeks, but summer break is coming to an end and we're ready to bring you some really cool episodes. So this is going to be our first one back, and I figured I would give you a little bit of my pregnancy story because we just announced it and a lot of people have been wondering, how long have you been trying? How did you know you were pregnant? All of those good things. And I wanted to put it in one place for everyone. So I will start from the beginning. If you were watching Married at First Sight, where Chris and I were on, I would think you did watch since that's probably brought you here, but we just celebrated our 3-year wedding anniversary. And on our honeymoon 3 years ago now, we had a discussion on the beach in this beautiful setting, beautiful candlelight dinner, and we talked about kids. And the way that it was shown was not exactly the way the conversation went, but basically we both had said we were in no rush to start a family. We knew we wanted kids. We didn't know at that time how many or when we would want to start trying, but we knew that we probably most likely wanted them. I had never personally wanted children when I was growing up. It was never on my 5-10 year list. I was always more career oriented or travel oriented. But once I got married and found the right man, I realized there's nothing I care about more than building a family with this man and having children that represent the two of us out there in the world. So we were a little hesitant at first and we didn't know really when to start trying because, I'm a little older in the maternal field. I'm 35, Chris is 39. So we didn't want to wait too long because then, chances are we might have issues getting pregnant. And we also didn't want to start when we thought it was too early at the off chance that it could happen right away, which I know is not the norm, but it does happen. So we were kind of looking for that sweet spot of we're ready to have kids. We would like them soonish, not right this second, but not in 2 years. And we knew we didn't want to do IVF or any kind of medical intervention. I have no issues with IVF. I think it's wonderful. And had we needed to go that route, maybe we would have reconsidered, but we really just said, let's see what happens. If it doesn't happen, then we can probably reconsider our plan, but let's just see. Just like our marriage to each other as strangers, we kind of left it up to fate and said, if it's meant to be, it will be. And on this honeymoon conversation, we had said we really wanted to be on the same page about it before we started to have kids because we didn't want it to be where one of us was forcing the other or feeling like, I don't really want this, but you do, so I'm going to do it for you. You know how that goes. So fast forward, when I turned 35 in September, we decided to go up birth control. I had been on birth control my whole adult life almost since I was 15, I think. So we knew it would take a little bit for my body to adjust. And we said, let's go up birth control, see what happens. Naturally, I expected it to happen like the next month because that's just the kind of person I am. And it didn't, shockingly, I know. But I did try to prepare my body to get pregnant. I started really tracking my cycle, which I have to say is something that you hear about. I personally didn't really know a ton about it because I had been on birth control, so I didn't really need to track my cycle as much as people off hormonal birth control do. And that is something they do not teach you in school because you go through school, at least I did, maybe. I don't want to put words in everyone's mouth, but you go through school like, oh, if you have sex, you'll get pregnant. It could happen just one time, which it can. You can get pregnant any day of the year. It doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. Not so true, my friend. For the most quote unquote regular situations, you have your cycle. It's around 28 days. You ovulate over a span of a few days. And if you have sex during that time, you could get pregnant. Did not really know that. Didn't really understand that. Took me 35 years. So I started really tracking my cycle. So this way we knew we were doing the baby dance, as they say. Ew, even though I hate that. We were doing the baby dance at the appropriate time. I started using a really cool tracker. It's called Mira. This is not sponsored. They did not pay for my device. I just really, really liked it because you test your urine maybe like 12, 14 days out of the month, and it tells you all of your different hormone levels. It tells you, it confirms ovulation, it confirms your LH spike. So you know for a fact you ovulated and that you're producing the hormones post ovulation needed to keep a pregnancy. So that was almost reassuring. It was a little bit like micromanaging my uterus, which I didn't love, even though I love to micromanage, but I would get so caught up in the numbers. Like, oh, this month, this is a little higher, or this month is a little lower. So what does that mean? Is this not a good month to try? All of that to say, it's good if you give it some grace. And give yourself some grace. This is a trying time. I stopped drinking alcohol, which I wasn't really a big drinker to begin with, but I definitely stopped drinking. I think the last time I really was drinking was in April at a wedding. And I said, this is going to be my last time really drinking until after babies. I started taking maca root, which I heard is supposed to be good for fertility. I started taking CoQ10 because it's good for egg health. I was on a small dose of Xanax every night because I'm a terrible sleeper. So I had to wean myself off of that, which, that was a tough time because sleeping is hard in general. And without my handy dandy sleep aid, I really wasn't sleeping, but I knew that I would have to stop it should I get pregnant. And I didn't want to abruptly stop it at that time. I started taking a prenatal vitamin because you know you're going to have to take it when you're pregnant. So it just kind of preps the body. And my hair, my nails, everything's been benefiting. So I'm thankful I started doing that and might continue post pregnancy, even though you don't really need it. And I limited my caffeine to 200 milligrams a day. Anything I knew I would have to do while pregnant, I wanted to do ahead of time. So this way my body was prepared. I wasn't making all of these changes at once. I tried to sleep more. I tried to be less stressed, which is not always so easy. You know, they always say when you stop thinking about it, it happens, but I was always thinking about it. There's just no way to not. Basically, just doing a lot of cycle tracking. Chris travels a lot, as you guys know, so it was a little difficult, but we made it work. And then in April of this year, I was convinced I was pregnant. We were doing all the right things at all the right time. My body felt good. I really thought I was pregnant. And then we went to the chiropractor that we go to, and she's adjusting me, and she's like, "Are you pregnant?" And I didn't tell her I was trying to get pregnant. I mean, why would I tell my chiropractor that? So I'm feeling my stomach. I'm like, maybe I'm bloated. I don't know. What makes you say that? And she was like, there's this hormone, I guess, called relaxin that pregnant women secrete, another word I hate, and it makes your joints and everything a little more loose. So they do say that pregnant women are more susceptible to like injuring themselves because if you're at the gym or you're even walking and you slip or do something, you could like twist an ankle, whatever. So she said that my body was adjusting a lot easier than normal. And she's been adjusting me for like 6 months. So she knows how my body moves. And I was like, it's so interesting you say that because we're trying to get pregnant. I'm kind of convinced I'm pregnant this month. I won't get my period for 3 or 4 days. So I don't know, but I don't know. And I really, this whole time was trying not to test early. Like I would probably test the day before I was going to get my period or supposed to get it because I figured at this point, if I'm pregnant, it's going to show up. If not, I'm going to find out tomorrow anyway. But I really was like, wow, this is crazy. And she said she's actually known, this would be her 3rd or 4th time knowing someone is pregnant before they know because of their body. So immediately I went home, took a test, negative. I was devastated, honestly, only because I had already thought it. And then this new random thing happened. So I decided I wasn't going to early test anymore. I would only test on the day I was supposed to get my period if I didn't get it. I had used up all the pregnancy tests in the house. I didn't buy more. I said, we're not doing this anyway. If we need to go get a test, we'll go out and get a test. It's not a big deal. So then in May, I had gone to a fertility clinic because it had been over 6 months of trying. And after 35, they recommend you go to a fertility clinic just to make sure, everything's working. We don't have to worry about anything outside of just time taking its time. Plus, I'm also very impatient. So I figured it would be good to just get confirmation that everything's okay, or at least know what we're dealing with here. So I go to the doctor and I'm getting my first ultrasound ever. It was a transvaginal one, joy. And the woman doing the ultrasound recognized me from the show. And I was mortified because I'm not there with my husband. She doesn't know, no one knows we're trying to get pregnant. I'm sitting there, she's inserting an ultrasound inside of my lady parts. And she's like, I swear I know you. Do you come here a lot? Have you been to the Chicago office? I'm like, no, it's my first time. And she looks up at the screen and sees my name and she's like, oh, okay. And I thought she saw something on the ultrasound and I look, It's not even up on the screen yet. So she must have seen my name and recognized me. And I was like, this is not the place to get recognized. So she's looking around. Everything looks good. And she's like, oh, you have an egg ready to drop. And she goes to my other fallopian tube ovary. I should know where they come from. And she goes, oh, you have another egg. Interesting. And I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, usually the more dominant one takes over and the other one just like goes to the wayside, whatever. I was like, okay, great, cool. Nothing to be concerned about. So I did that. I did another test called an HSG, I believe, where they put dye in your fallopian tubes to make sure there's no blockages. And I've actually heard that there's a 30% chance, or you have a 30% higher chance of getting pregnant after doing this test, because if you do have a small blockage, it flushes it out. Even if you don't have a blockage, it kind of just makes them fresh and open and ready to receive the pregnancy. So that was exciting either way. I did not love the test. It was very painful, but I guess compared to pregnancy, it really was a treat. That happened and everything went well. The doctor said everything was good. I did genetic testing, found out I'm a carrier for cystic fibrosis, which was very scary because, I don't know if Chris is a carrier for anything. They make you do all kinds of health tests to be on Married at First Sight, but not genetic testing, obviously. So that was the only thing that was a little concerning. But the doctor said, you have these eggs. One of them will take over, but now is a really good time to try to have a baby. And I was like, okay, great. I knew I was about to ovulate a day later per my Mira tracker and per the doctor saying like, everything looks good. Go ahead. And Chris was actually really sick this weekend. And I was like, I don't want to force him when he's not feeling well to do this. But at the same time, we got the A-OK from the doctor and it feels right. So one time isn't going to kill him and it could help. If not, we'll try again next month. So that happens. He travels, he goes on his trip, he comes back, goes for his genetic testing. He gets recognized at the lab and I was with him. So I was sitting in the waiting room and the woman was like, I know you. And I was like, again, this is not the time or the place. I really want to talk about this. So Chris goes in the room with her and she was trying to figure out this entire time. And finally he's like, we were on Married at First Sight. She's like, oh my God, yes. Obviously she can't say anything, which is great, but still not a place you want to get recognized. His results came back. We're all clear. We're not a match for anything that we both carry. So that's great. Very big relief. And then that was May. So about a week and a half-ish later, maybe like 2 weeks, this was a Friday and I was supposed to get my period on that Sunday. And I started to feel weird, not pain or anything, just like something just fell off. And my boobs were really sore, which they usually are during my period, but they were like, I couldn't even touch them. And I was like, I'm getting my period. And Chris and I are watching TV and we see a commercial for Nike and it's two parents and they're dating in this commercial. And then they get engaged in their Nikes and they get married in their Nikes and they move into their new house in their Nikes. And then the end of the commercial is them holding up like a pair of baby Nikes and she's pregnant. I'm sobbing uncontrollably. I'm like, well, that's weird. But maybe, my emotions are high. I thought I was pregnant last month. Chris was sick this month. I don't know what's going on. The doctor says everything's great, which is a good sign. But also, if everything's great, why isn't it happening? I was getting really dizzy, which was also a really big thing before I got pregnant. So I didn't think anything of it, but this was like, I would stand up and fall back down immediately. And I was starving, which again, not a crazy new thing for me, but I was like really, really hungry. Usually Chris makes this big thing of chicken and rice and veggies. And it's kind of one of our basic go-to dinners. And I usually have leftovers for the next day. And I finished the entire thing. And we were both like, whoa, okay. And then the night before I took the test, I had the craziest dreams at that time of my whole life. I'm not a good sleeper, as I've said, and I was not sleeping well. I had the craziest dreams. And in one of them, Eris, from our season of Married at First Sight, was with Snoop Dogg on stage singing Tennessee Whiskey. And I wanted to go up and sing with him. And he was like, no, you look like a girl who sends voice notes to her friends. And I was like, I'm a girl who sends voice notes to her friends. What does that have to do with singing? And he was like, no. And they were just singing Tennessee Whiskey. And I woke up and I was like, that's a weird dream. Eris wanted Chris and I to have a baby almost as much as we did. So I said, Eris would not show up in my dream if there wasn't a reason. So we're sitting there and I'm just feeling all these weird things. I'm getting so mad at Chris for no reason. I can't even tell you why. I was just acting like such a baby. And I was thinking about this dream and I was like, you know what? I said I wasn't going to test early, but something just feels off. So I have like Target same day delivery. It's like 8 o'clock at night. And I have them deliver the pregnancy test, but I ordered something else with it because I didn't want to tell Chris and then have him try to calm me down and remind me that I decided I wasn't going to test early. So I didn't even tell him. I get the test with whatever decoy item I got, hide the tests. The next morning, I have weird, crazy dreams again. I wake up at like 5:30. I go downstairs, take the test, let the dogs out, thinking nothing of it. I turn around, it's positive. And mind you, I'm at this point, I wouldn't have even been 4 weeks pregnant. And my period was not late. It was not due for 2 days. And I didn't even know what to do. I was like, well, that can't be right. So I'm sitting with it. I tell the dogs, they're excited. They're all like, they don't know what's going on, but they're excited. I'm excited. I'm crying. And I was like, okay, think of a cute way to tell Chris when he wakes up. Don't bombard him. Like, think of something cute. I go upstairs and I was just like, wake up, wake up. I'm crying. He's like, what's wrong? And I just throw the test at him. I couldn't even speak words. And he's half asleep, mind you. He can't see yet. He's like, what am I looking at? I'm like, oh my God, we're pregnant. And I wish I could have recorded the reaction. I could have. I wish I did record the reaction because it was just so special. We were both so happy, just crying. He was hugging me. The dogs were getting in on it. So that was really, really special. And I'm glad I didn't wait to do something cutesy because it was so in the moment. And the first thing I do is I'm like, okay, Google, what do I do now? So I called the doctor's office when they opened and I was like, I just took a positive pregnancy test. You're the second person I've told. What do I do? She's like, okay, great. When was your last period? And I tell her and she's like, we'll see you in 4 weeks. And I'm like, huh, okay. And now I understand why they do that because if you come any sooner, they can't tell if you're pregnant because it won't show up on the ultrasound. But I'm like, what do I do? She's like, are you taking a prenatal? Yep. Okay, stick with it. We'll see you in 4 weeks. Okay, cool. So we decided we weren't going to tell anyone. We were going to wait till the first ultrasound because you never know. Naturally, I felt a little weird. Like my symptoms were the same. They still are pretty much the same as when that day I thought I was pregnant. Like I'm not sleeping. I'm really hungry. I'm having crazy dreams. My boobs hurt, all the things. But you don't really feel that you're pregnant yet. So every single day for the first like week or so, I took a pregnancy test. And then finally the next weekend, we were both like, we have to tell our parents. We can't look them in the face and not tell them. Like his dad was coming, I think the following week. We're like, we cannot have him in our home and just not tell him that we're having a baby. So we told our parents and that was amazing. And then we had Jasmine's wedding a few days later. And I was like, well, I'm not going to tell her at her wedding. And we knew we were going to see Shaq there. We saw Brianna and Vincent from the Atlanta season of Married at First Sight. And we were like, okay, we're just going to play it cool. And then we're standing around and I'm like, okay, I'm pregnant. Like I couldn't even keep it in because it was just so exciting. I did tell Jasmine after her wedding. I didn't want to take away from her special day. Not that I could, but she knows. And it's just been really, really exciting. I mean, we tried not to tell a ton of people until the first ultrasound because you never know what could happen. But I also have this mentality of I'd rather have 4 weeks of celebrating and being joyful than being scared. And if something happens, if something bad happens, I want that support system around me. And I'd rather people know and have to tell them, hey, this is what I'm going through. I know it's more common than you think. I need your support versus, oh, this is what happened to me a few months ago. Sorry, I've been weird. We only told our really close friends and family. And then we go for our first ultrasound, not knowing what to expect. We walk in and the ultrasound tech's like doing her thing. And I see her, like, I don't know what I'm looking at on the screen, right? I'm not looking at sonograms with any kind of like, oh, I know what that is. I know what I'm looking for when people show them to me in the past. So I'm just like, okay, blobs on a screen. So she's like moving the thing around and I see just black blobs and nothing else. I was like, okay. So she goes back to the home screen where it says like my name and date and all the information. And I'm thinking she's checking how far along I am to make sure I'm far along enough to see the heartbeat. So I'm fully expecting her in this moment to be like, there's no heartbeat, it's too soon, you have to come back, or there's no heartbeat, the baby is not viable, whatever it is. So I'm freaking out. I'm obviously not going to say anything to Chris because we're in this little tiny room. So I'm just like, breathe, breathe, breathe. And I see her go on the information area where it says number of fetuses and she deletes one and she types in two. And then she goes back to the other screen. I was like, excuse me, why did you just change it to 2? She said, oh, because there's 2 in there. I was like, excuse me? And then she moves the thing around and I see 2 little black blobs with 2 little white alien gummy bear things inside. And she's like, it's twins. When I tell you, Chris and I looked at each other, jaws on the floor, silent. And we are never silent. So we go back in the waiting room. We have to wait like 20 minutes to see the doctor. And we were just not speaking. And I'm just crying. I'm like, this is so exciting, but unexpected. Neither of us have twins in the family. I know it's more common when you're over 35, but I just hit 35. And then I was like, wait a minute. The doctor did say he saw an egg or 2 eggs ready to drop. I'm like, that can't be it though, because they said that the more dominant one takes over. The first thing I always think to do, I Google, I just found out I'm having twins. Now what? And he's like, let's just go to the doctor. Let's talk to the doctor. So we go in and I tell her the story about the fertility doctor. And she was like, yeah, that's usually what happens, but not always. As you can see, sometimes they both drop and they both get fertilized and they both implant and then you have twins. Okay, cool. I have no idea, completely blacked out the entire rest of the appointment. I don't think we asked anything about the babies. Like, are they doing well? What's happening? This and that. I'm assuming she would have said if something wasn't going well, but no idea. I had all these questions written out. She was like, do you have any questions? I was like, I don't think so. Whew, talk about shell shocked. But don't worry, I went back. I emailed her the questions once the shock wore off. And we decided to only really tell close family and friends again about the twins. And everyone was like, you're joking, right? I'm like, no, why would we joke about that? So we're having twins. But we do like to say we don't do anything small. You know, we go from single to married overnight. We marry strangers and we decide we want kids. And then a few months later, we decide to have 2 at once. Not decide, but that's just the way the universe works. So we said we wanted 2 kids and we're getting our 2 kids and we're very beyond blessed and grateful. And the positive is I only have to be pregnant once, even though I'm 5'1". Chris was a 10-pound baby. He's 6'2". I'm afraid I'm going to be so big with these 2 babies that I will topple over. But that's not for a while. I'm only 13 weeks right now, so still just got a little baby bump that kind of looks like bloat. Since we didn't really pay attention at the first doctor, we're like, what do we do now? You do get more ultrasounds with twins, but we knew our next one wasn't for a month. So my dad was visiting the following week, and we took him to a private ultrasound, which was so cool. I didn't know that was a thing, but it was kind of like a show. It was in this big room with all these couches. You could bring all these people. And she spent like 20 minutes doing this ultrasound, showing every little part of every little gummy bear alien baby. And that's when it really kind of hit. I'm like, oh my God, there are 2 babies in my belly. So that was a very cool experience. And I'm so happy we did it because I think it made it feel a lot more like, okay, this is happening, not like, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, even though we know it did. You know, my cravings have not been too bad. I haven't been sick, knock on wood, knock on wood. I mean, I've been like tired to the point where if I don't take a nap when it hits, Chris says that I sound drunk and I look drunk because I'm like, I'm so tired and I pass out. So that's been interesting. And I'm starving all the time. If I don't eat the second the hunger hits, I feel like I'm going to throw up, but I don't throw up, which is amazing. And I will take that. And the dreams are still dreaming. No more dreams about Eris though, but I guess he was the one who really told me I was pregnant. And then I'm not really having a ton of cravings or aversions, just kind of pizza and bagels. Like these babies are determined to be Italians from New York because they want all the food, and apple juice. I've always loved apple juice, but now if I don't have a cold, crisp Martinelli's apple juice, when the craving hits, I feel like I'm going to die. So I guess that's a craving, but it's not that unusual for me. And then my only really aversion is water. Like if it's not ice cold, which normally I hate, I will not drink it. Tap water, room temperature, not tap, but room temperature water to me is disgusting. So again, not really like something crazy, but it's something. And then Chris and I just went to Mexico for our annual anniversary trip, which I guess next year we probably won't be able to do, but that's okay. We'll have babies. We were going to wait to do a gender reveal until we got home. We were going to pick up the gender results in an envelope at the doctor's office on our next appointment, which was the day after we came back. And we were going to try to do something with the dogs, but we couldn't figure out what to do. So we're in Mexico and we planned this beachside candlelit, I always call it candlelit, there's no candles, beachside romantic dinner. we wanted to do that because it was almost 3 years to the day we did that on our honeymoon, and we thought it was just really special. So Chris was like, what if we did the gender reveal here? What if we gave them the results and had them bring out like desserts with the silver domes on top, and they had like strawberries or blueberries, whatever the genders are? And I'm like, oh, that's such a good idea. So we go to our guy. We have a guy everywhere. We go to our guy and we're like, hey, is this something that you can do? And he was like, absolutely, leave it to me. We'll take care of it. So we get to this dinner and it's so beautiful, very windy, but so beautiful. We had surf and turf. We had this yummy salad. They had Martinelli's sparkling apple cider for us to toast with. Incredible. They had pink and blue, like tulle on the awning. They had pink and blue little napkins. They printed out these little twin cards with a note, like to expecting parents. So cute, so thoughtful. And we go to sit down and we notice there's this like archery board, like target bullseye thing with different numbers above the table. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but can we remove that? It's kind of killing the vibe. And they were like, no, 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 it's part of the reveal. We're like, okay. So we eat our dinner, it's time for dessert. And they were like, okay, we have 2 balloons with like glitter inside with the genders. And, you know, you shoot them, you pop them, whatever. And then we have cakes. And we're like, oh my God, like that is so above and beyond. So it's time to do the archery. And Chris is freaking out because he's never done archery. And he's like, what if there's beachgoers? I'm like, where do you think you're throwing this thing? But I know I have no aim, so I'm not even going to attempt it. We had both decided, obviously, whatever we get, and we love, and we're happy, and we just want them to be healthy. But if we had, or if we could pick, we would pick boy, girl, 2 boys, 2 girls. 2 girls would have been lovely, but that was just, you know, we're just putting them in order. We were both in agreement. Again, would have been happy with anything as long as they're healthy. So he does the archery thing. First balloon pops, pink glitter, freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I get my girl. It's not just me and all boys in the house, because keep in mind, our dogs are all males. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh, we get the girl. We finally get the girl. I get my girl. And I'm like, oh, but if the other one's pink, there's 2 girls. So let's not go crazy yet. So he goes and does the other one. Blue glitter comes out and we lost it. I screamed so loud. Everyone at the resort probably heard. They were like, what, is someone getting murdered? And we're just freaking out, like one of each. We're so happy, so blessed, so grateful. And I just really can't believe it. Like sometimes I cannot believe my luck and how blessed I am. But then I think of me having to go through 32 years of, I mean, not 32 years, I guess, my adult life, teenage to adult life, of all this heartbreak and not having good relationships and not knowing what my future was going to hold. And I did all of that. So the past 3 years could bring me the most magical life, more than I could have even imagined. So sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it. And how did I get so lucky? And then other times I'm like, you're not lucky. You put in the work, you're reaping the rewards. And we're just so excited. You know, obviously we're nervous, we're scared, we're anxious. The unknown is always crazy, but we're so happy. Every day is just another little blessing. You know, we talk about what fruit the babies are the size of, and he touches my stomach and I pretend they're kicking. So it's very sweet. You know, as first time parents, we have no idea what's going on. So maybe it's a little easier. Not easier that they're twins for the first time, but we don't know any different. So we don't have anything to compare it to. You know, just things on my mind I want to share with you a little bit, because this may or may not be relatable. But I'm thinking a lot about the dogs and the babies, because it will be a very full house. So we're going to start training them immediately. We're going to get the stroller and the car seats and all of the gear and the gates and stuff as early as possible. We play crying baby sounds. We just want them to really adjust so they don't feel like there's too much changing. But of course, I'm worried. You hear all these stories about people hating their dogs after they have babies, which I will never, ever do. I say that now and I mean it. But I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring my dogs, but I also don't want to feel like I'm not being the best mother because I'm giving so much attention to my dog. So, a lot going on. We will get through it. And truthfully, I'm struggling a lot with my body image. I know it's a beautiful thing, and I do actually love seeing my body grow. And I don't think I'm going to have an issue throughout pregnancy, but I can already foresee post-pregnancy, because I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I mentioned this on the show that I had a lot of body issues, still am dealing with a lot of body issues in my adult life. And it's something that I don't think will ever completely go away. And you just hear all these things like, oh, you can get your body back and you just have to work hard, but it's worth it. And yeah, of course. And I don't mind hard work and it is worth it. But the pressure of just having to get your body back. And what if I don't? What if I can't? I'm still me. I'm still the same person. So we're struggling a little bit with that. My jeans no longer fit. So that's frustrating, but it's okay. It's all part of the pregnancy game. And women do it every day and survive and come out even better sometimes. So we're going to work through it. I'm just trying to remember that my body is getting bigger because I'm growing two healthy babies in there. This is a big thing, which might sound a little crazy, but I'm having to accept that I'm going to have a messy house. I am very clean. Everything has a place, everything needs to be in its place. If anything is a mess, I really can't focus. I have to clean it up. I have to take these cleaning breaks, and I just have to accept that I won't be able to have every dish clean the second it's used, or there might be piles of clothes that need to be put away, or the laundry can't be done the second it gets to the point where I want it done. And that's okay. And it's something I'm trying to prepare myself for now because just like with the dogs, I don't want there to be a million adjustments. So sometimes I don't put my laundry away right away. I kind of leave it there in a place where I could see it so I know it's there and needs to be put away, but I focus on other things that are more time sensitive. So that is kind of really a big deal, but for some people it's probably not. And you're probably like, Nicole, there's more important things to worry about than a messy house. And we just don't know what our future is going to look like because we really don't have a lot of family in Nashville. And we have a ton of family who's migrated to Florida. We have my mom, my stepdad, my stepsister and her husband and kids, Chris's mom, Chris's brother and his wife, and my dad. Did I say my dad? Sorry, Dad. So we just have a ton of family who's moved down to Florida. So we're kind of thinking that's our next move, but Florida. Sorry, no offense, but also Nashville's not like the best, but it's getting better. So I don't know, but that's the beauty of starting a family and figuring it out is that you just do it together. And that was a very long winded story. I hope you stuck around for it. If not, I totally understand. I do understand also that hearing other people's pregnancy stories can be very triggering. I know even when my own friends were telling me they were pregnant, I would feel almost, I would take it personally like, oh, why not me? But you can be happy for other people and not feel bad about yourself. And that's what I've told myself. But I totally understand if it is something that people just don't want to listen to. So if you have listened, thank you for listening. And I promise the remainder of the podcast will not be solely pregnancy focused, although I will probably mention it in every episode because it is something very prevalent in my life. But I would love to hear other people's thoughts, your pregnancy stories, your feedback on mine, if you have any twin advice, because I don't know anyone with twins or anyone who's recently had twins. So I really don't know what I'm doing. Chris has even less idea what he's doing. So we're really just going to figure it out. But I will say that anything new I take out on life, I research the crap out of. So every single day I find something new to look up and figure out and perfect. So I'm going to be as prepared as possible. But anyway, thank you for listening to another episode of D List Diaries. Please reach out on Instagram, email us at dlistdiaries@gmail.com. Let me know your feedback, your stories. If you have any questions for me or Chris, we could probably get him on here at some point to talk about his experience preparing to be a dad. And make sure to like, subscribe so you know when we're officially back from summer break. I mean, we're back, but you'll know when new episodes drop if you subscribe. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.